Hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePuller.com. In today's video, I am really excited to be playing along with the Pin Sites Challenge with Ellen Hudson as a guest designer. There is a wonderful mood board over there. Click the link below to view the blog post so you can see that whole mood board and be inspired yourself. But I'm going to break out my Kuratake Gansai Tambi Watercolors and recreate my version of one of the backgrounds here. I'm going to do some white embossed resist with my Kuratake Gansai Tambi Watercolors. And if you've never seen these before, it's a wonderful watercolor palette. I have the 36 color set, and one thing I like about it is it has a couple of metallics and a pearl. That's a nice bonus in there. This came wrapped around the set, and I just kind of tacked it down on one side so it doesn't get lost because I want this for reference. But then you can actually paint on the inside of the lid to see the true colors and then just match up their, these are situated the same way the colors are in the palette. So then you can just pull out the ones you want to use, and these are the ones I'm using according to the color palette of the mood board, and then these are the stamp sets I'm going to use. So I'll set these aside for a minute. I have some watercolor paper, and I'm just going to use the big bold blossom stamps from the set. I'll ink up using Versamark ink, and I already said this is watercolor paper, right? And then I'm just going to stamp my blooms all over this piece of paper. Use the small one to kind of fill in there. I have a little bit of pink left over from another project that I was using these flower stamps for, but I'm going to use white embossing powder, so it's okay. Won't notice that once it's embossed. I'm going off the paper to give it a random look, or as if I had taken patterned paper that was pre-made and I just cut it to size. This is 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches. Just grab a little piece of scratch paper and some opaque white embossing powder. And you may have seen a video a few days ago. I mixed in some glitter embossing powder with my white embossing powder, so I'm seeing there's some glitter in here. It just takes a minute to heat that up. You can watch the powder turn shiny, and when it does, you are successfully embossed. My flowers are all embossed, and now comes the really fun part. I'm going to take a little spritzer bottle and just add a little water into my paints, and then a water brush. And when you squeeze it, you'll see water comes out, and I'm just going to wet down the flowers. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of paint, and I'm just going to dab it in. And if you want more water, if you want that color to move and maybe lighten up a little bit, you can just squeeze your brush and get some more color moving and like I said, lighten up that color. So just dab that in. It's really dark on this one, so I'm just going to pick up a little to move on to other ones. This is a really concentrated, very pigmented paint. It's awesome. You could, if you don't have the paints, well, you could buy them. Or you can just use your inks and make a color palette on your craft mat or on an acrylic block. Or you can grab, if your kids have some watercolors, why don't you try those out? Now I want to grab some of that pink, and we'll just dab that on also and let that water move the colors around, and you can see that that white, the white embossed image is resisting the watercolor. If you have too much, like I do over here, you could soak it up with a paper towel. Get some of that excess off of there. And just keep playing and adding and dabbing until it looks like you want it to look. Let it dry, and then we can move on to the background. Now the flowers are all painted, it's time to move on to the background. So I'm going to use this brown and this bronzy gold color. I think I'm going to pick up just a little bit of this brown first and then just start painting this background. And you can go right up to the embossed lines. I'm trying not to go like over them too much, the embossing obviously is going to resist the color, but I don't want to go over the line and into the flower color. So I'll just be careful with that as I'm painting this background. So I'm just squeezing my brush, getting some extra water out of there so that these colors will move and work their magic. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this bronzy gold color, mix that in as well. So I guess I haven't really talked about it, but in case you haven't noticed, there is one photo in the mood board that there's these gorgeous, beautiful pink blooms. And there's like a dark brown or really dark charcoal-ish color there on the background. And that's what I'm kind of trying to recreate here. I love the bronze, that bronzy gold color, the shimmer that it gives. So pretty. And then as you're working this around, if you wanted to kind of tilt it and get the colors to run, you see right about here, don't be worried about going around or going into the flowers, because look, that color is just moving right around the embossed lines. Isn't that cool? That's where the emboss resist comes in. And then you can leave it as is and just let it dry. But if you want to add more little drippy spots like that, just come in, squeeze your brush, get a little extra color and water out, and then just move your paper around and get that to mix and blend and move and make these cool watermarks. Such a cool looking background. So this is all painted and all dry, and I have some warping, which is completely normal when you're heat embossing and you're watercoloring. I'm just going to heat the back of this paper up a little, and you'll see it helps flatten it out. It's not going to be completely flat, but it definitely will help. I'm going to use this stamp set, and I'm going to take the candles and use it in a little bit different way than it was intended. I've got my Delicata gold ink pad, and I'm going to stamp these candles on some dark brown cardstock, and I'm basically just using them to make some stripes. How about that? I will add a little adhesive to the edge of my watercolor paper, and then I'm going to adhere it so that just a little bit of that brown gold stamped cardstock is peeking through. Very subtle little accent there. Now for the greeting, I'm just taking that happy birthday. I'm going to ink it up with Rich Cocoa. This is a Memento Dewdrop ink pad. And before I glue all this down, I want to make sure that I get this straight. I'm adding quite a bit of adhesive to the back of this layer to make sure that it all lays flat. If you ever have trouble applying adhesive to your projects, I hear a lot of stampers do have trouble with that, hop over to catherinepooler.com and get on my newsletter list. You'll get my top 10 things every stamper needs to know video series, and in that very first video, I address that problem and show you how to apply adhesive so that your cards will stay together, and then I'll share with you my other top tips for solving the most common problems I hear stampers having. So before I finish this up, I think I'm gonna add a couple little sequins. How can I not? Have my little sequin container here. I just got this from Michael's recently. Even I did a video about it, and it's really a nice way to store the sequins, and it was really inexpensive, only a couple dollars at Michael's. I can't wait to see what all of you come up with for this mood board. It's beautiful, and there's so much inspiration and so many different ways you can go with a card making project. Before I turn the camera on, I made another sample just playing around and seeing how the background was going to turn out. So if you hop over to my blog, you'll see all the details on this card. And then I will also have, I did make another one based on this mood board too. I made a shaker card, and that video will be a bonus video tutorial for Stamp Nation this week. So that's all I got today. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Give me a thumbs up if you love these watercolor paints. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this. Thanks for being here today. Hope your day is awesome.